Now, big breaking news tonight out of the Washington swamp. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now formally under a House ethics investigation. And while details of the probe have not been released, last year Ocasio-Cortez was also under ethics scrutiny over her attendance at a Met Gala for accepting an, well, impermissible gift. Though it's not clear if today's news is related to the previous complaint. We'll continue to follow that story. And meanwhile, House Republicans, they're moving ahead with their investigations into Biden's self-inflicted disasters, including when Biden abandoned our fellow Americans behind enemy lines in Afghanistan, one of the biggest debacles in American foreign policy history. House Republicans launching a probe into the disastrous withdrawal. They're vowing transparency and accountability into how the Biden administration failed at such a level. Here with more reaction, House Oversight Committee Chairman, Ranking Member Republican Congressman James Comer. That is key. The other one that we haven't talked a lot about is the origins of COVID. Will that happen as well?
Absolutely. We talked about that today. We had a meeting with the steering committee, and I've already been meeting with various committee chairs and other committees that will have some type of jurisdiction over that. But that's going to be a priority, not just the origins of COVID, but also some of the decisions that were made and why those decisions were made. We want to bring in and interview all the scientists who early on told Dr. Fauci that this is obviously a lab leak, this is obviously man-made, but then they changed their story. We later learned through some of our investigative work that many of those scientists that just gave Fauci a blank check to go along with everything, they were receiving grants from the NIH and had a lot of help from the CDC. So we want to investigate that. Again, the debacle at Afghanistan with the withdrawal, no one knows who made the final decisions, therefore no one's been held accountable for that. These are some of the big investigations that we're going to focus on in January.
We expect Elon Musk is going to have another disclosure as it relates to election interference. He said if you shut down any dissenting voices, that is the very definition of election interference. He talked about the media being complicit, lying to the American public, and how Twitter was the arm of the Democratic Party. These are big revelations. You're going to be leading the investigation into the Bidens, Joe Biden in particular. You said this will be an investigation about the president himself. Let's talk about that. Joe Biden lied when he said he never spoke with his family or Hunter about their foreign business dealings. There's evidence to the contrary, photographic evidence. We know of at least 14 meetings that Joe attended with his son Hunter and his foreign business partners. The question is, if in fact Joe Biden benefited financially, will that, what is the proper term for that? Is that pay to play? Is that, you know, selling access at the highest level?
It certainly looks like the Biden family was acting as foreign agents. We have a term for that in Washington, D.C. We call that lobbyists. We know Joe Biden lied about his knowledge of Hunter and Jim's shady business dealings. We also know that Joe lied about his participation in those business dealings. As you've already documented, Sean, he had several meetings with people that during the campaign he said he never met with, had meetings on Air Force Two, had meetings in the White House. There's correspondence where people on Hunter's laptop in the emails and text messages say, I really enjoyed meeting your dad. Thank you for meeting your dad. I think he's going to be able to open some doors for us. I mean, clearly Joe Biden was an active player in this. So he lied about that. He lied about the laptop. You go back to the debate, and that's what's so good about what Elon Musk has turned over thus far. Joe Biden said in the debate that that laptop was Russian disinformation. You know, that's not true. And the FBI, who I believe we're going to have evidence very soon, was very involved in the decision that Twitter made to ban the laptop story. They had the laptop, so they knew that it was not Russian disinformation. Why were the Bidens so worried about the laptop? And the American people are going to find out in January.
Do you believe it's possible Joe Biden is compromised by China and Russia? Real quick.
I fear that he is, especially if you look at energy policy. The worst deal that the Biden family made was the deal with China, where they were trying to help China get their foot in the door on the American energy industry. Energy policy is national security, and Joe Biden could be compromised because of the millions of dollars he's received from China through his family's influence peddling.
All right, Congressman, we'll continue to follow this very closely starting in January. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.